got to get up close to that one, David. The shareholders are going to have to pay trillions in reparations for the global warming that they are buying now. Down! The shareholders of Dominion are going down!
So how low are they going?
Well, they're going to go as low as Big Tobacco. Big Tobacco paid billions. The fossil fuel boys are going to pay trillions. You know why? We're going to have to go out and spend it to build another planet.
Amazing that.
It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. Corporate stealing from Virginia. And now I will sing the Dominion corruption song. Virginia's being poisoned by Dominion all the livelong day. The assembly's in the kitchen with Dominion just to sell our rights away. Can't you hear the Senate pleading? Dominion, give me more. Can't you hear those delegates bleeding? Give me more than before. Dominion, won't you pay? Dominion, won't you pay? Dominion, won't you pay for all our suits and yachts? Dominion, won't you get? Dominion, won't you get a backroom corrupt pipeline permit? Ralph Northrum's in the kitchen with Dominion. Tom Farrell's back there feeding him some swill. FERC and DEQ endorsed pollution when they rubber stamped this pipeline bill, and politicians sing a fee to defy and diddle-io, a fee to dance with Dominion IO. We want to line our pockets with Dominion, and to hell with the rights of you Virginians. That's our politicians, bought, sold, owned, lock, stock, and barrel by Tom Farrell, the corporate plantation master who runs the state of Virginia.
Happy belated birthday. We have a bit of a tight agenda today. We're going to start with a moral invocation. We're going to move into pipeline issues and climate change, and then end with political and corporate collusion. And let's get going. So let's warm up. I want to hear some deep boos. Let's hear some boos. All right, now I want to hear some yeah. Woo! All right, now starting at the corner at 3rd Street. I want to see a wave and Excellent. Did everybody see Pastor Paul yet? All right, let's start with a warm-up chant. It's Dominion. Dominion. Drop the act, Dominion. Dominion. Drop the act, Dominion! Dominion! 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 Drop the act, Dominion! Bye.
Your sacrifice, so
We
will not be your sacrifice, so
our water
will not be your sacrifice, so
our land
will not be your sacrifice, so
our rights
will not be your sacrifice, so
we
will not be your sacrifice, so
our water
will not be your sacrifice, so
our land
will not your sacrifice, no.
Our rights
Will not be your sacrifice, no.
our militants,
Will not be your sacrifice, no.
our people.
Will not be your sacrifice, no.
The governor's mansion! Oh, wait, too late.
I'll be reading Surah Fatiha, which is the opening chapter of the Quran. Just asking for God's guidance. My mom is going to read the Arabic and I will read the translation.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
So the English translation of this is, in the name of God, the eternal, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. All praise is due to God, Lord of the worlds. The entirely merciful, the especially merciful, sovereign on the day of resurrection. It is you who we worship and you who we ask for help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those upon whom you have bestowed your favor, not of those who have invoked your anger or those who have gone astray. Amen.
Amen.
Good morning and peace to all of us and to everyone. I'd like to offer a prayer for one and each one of us here and all of our friends and neighbors and all the trees that have been felled and all the animals that have been affected. For prayer that all will be peaceful and safe and that our efforts will bring positive result to touch the hearts of those who are on the path to destroying the environment and not caring enough for those who are going to be impacted by this pipeline. Please join me first in the short Om Shanti Krishna and then I'll do Sanskrit prayer. Just one Om together to bring our energy together. Take a nice deep breath. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om. Together. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om. 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 Shanti, Om. Sadesham Swantiravavatu, Sadesham Shantiravavatu, Sadesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sadesham Mangalam Bhavatu, auspiciousness be unto all, perfect peace be unto all, fullness be unto all, prosperity be unto all. Save Bhavantu Sukhaha, Save Shantu Niramaya, Save Bhadrani Paschantu, Bhakatitu Kavakadev. Happiness be unto all, perfect health be unto all. May all see good in everyone, may all be free from suffering. Om Mother Nature. Mother Nature, you are the mother of all. My Father is also protecting us, Father of all. Please grant us health and strength, wisdom and discretion to find permanent peace and joy, and to share this peace and joy with one and all. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. You can say Jai together. Victory to that divine light within one and each one of us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And welcome to Pastor Paul.
See everyone's out. So glad to see you, Red. She's my newest hero. We thank God for her. I saw someone holding a sign. It says the pipeline and the land. Who was holding that sign?
Hold that button.
I'm something I want to make a comment about it. I saw a sign. Oh, we stand with landowners and affected communities. For those of you who do not know, I pastor in Buckingham County, Virginia. The halfway spot for the ACP, with the proposed compressor station for our community, walking distance, one church, two locations, and our landowners are affected. And most of the members of our church have not signed off on any easement, and they're being attacked already about eminent domain. And I noticed that Dominion does not have the windows blacked out today. And the reason is, I guess, because they're so sure of themselves that this thing is going to come about. But we say no pipeline. Hello?
No pipeline!
No eminent domain.
No eminent domain!
And Dominion is not in charge of us. God put us in charge. Y'all better help me here. But I thank God that you're here. And I believe that they're really hearing us. And I think there's something in their boots. And we want them to tremble right on until they say, we don't need the ACP, we don't need the MVP, and there's a whole lot of things that we don't need. Yeah. Because it's about money, it's about greed, it's about corporate profit. So I'm going to just say a quick prayer, and then I'm going to give this mic to somebody else. Might we bow in prayer? Father God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this day. We ask that this rally would be peaceful, that we will be respected, that we will be heard. And Father God, we ask that you just continue to guide us. You know why we're here, Father God. And we just ask for divine intervention. Ask for the Holy Spirit to step in, and we shall claim victory in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much to everybody being here today. I want to say, as we're addressing Dominion, we're here today to call out your environmental destruction, your moral bankruptcy, your political corruption, and your economic exploitation. We will not stand for the destruction of our Commonwealth. So drop the act, Dominion.
Thank you.
I'm honored to introduce our first speaker, Irene Leach. She is a landowner in Buckingham County and affected community member of Montgomery County, and she would like to address with a couple words this morning. Thank you, Irene.
From the outset, I have opposed both pipelines, and I am affected by both pipelines. But I'm here today because of Dominion, and so I'm going to focus on the family farm in Buckingham that we have operated for over 116 years. and Dominion has chosen a path that would bisect our farm. They haven't needed to cut trees because they came through the middle of our farm, through our cropland, our pasture land, our hay fields, and we have been asking, we are on record having asked since before this project, when another was proposed through the area, to move to the edge of our property. And Dominion has not been willing to do that. And we allowed them to survey. But we would not sign an easement until they got certification. They have not addressed any of the issues that we have raised repeatedly since 2014. On Friday, we got a proposal for a slight movement. We want 500 feet. So the point is so that our buildings, every house, every barn, everything we have is in the destruction, total blast, total gone zone. Every inch we own of 1,200 acres is in the fire zone. We've asked them to move to the edge of the fields that they're going through instead of straight through the middle. Instead, the proposal they sent us Friday moves it 30 feet in the wrong direction. Putting the pipeline closer to everything and still in the middle of all of our farming operations, not giving us anything we asked for. And because we've been asking to try to keep our business operating, 400 cattle on the place, and we need to plan, and we need fences. They said they would hire an agriculture specialist. We don't need them to hire an agriculture specialist. We need them to listen to us, the landowners. If they're going to take our land, we're asking them to move it within our land. We're not even asking them to move it the whole way to the edge, which is, I think is a fair thing to do. We're simply asking the edge of those pastures and fields that they cross. And they say it's too late. So I'm going in here to speak, to ask one more time for them to move their pipeline within my property. Thank you for being here.
Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Fossil fuels have got
started this fight, and we want to recognize that this land belongs to them. So if we could take a moment of silence, and then I will we'll introduce the Limperts. And now we're going to hear from Lynn and Bill Limpert. They are landowners in Bath County, and we are very honored to have them with us here today. And Lynn?
Woo! Yay!
Where the pipeline would go up and mow down all these big old trees. And I just want to say that my husband and I have written letters. We've given interviews, demonstrated, protested, petitioned our representatives for over 2 years now. And I know that a lot of folks have done that for a lot longer than that. We've been trying our best to get the word out about all that is wrong with the ACP and the MVP. But what is right about it? What is right about exploiting rural and many times low-income communities? What is right about endangering our water resources with extreme construction practices and extreme conditions? The ACP and MVP like to tout themselves as economic boons. But what about the family farms and tourism venues that will be impaired or destroyed? Both of which are so important to our rural economies. Who is speaking for them? What is right about taking private property by eminent domain for a project that will not benefit our local communities? Indeed, they will rob those same landowners and their communities of property value and quality of life. What is right about continuing to build new, unnecessary infrastructure that facilitates the extraction, transportation, combustion, and exportation of fossil fuels? Practices that will result in sending ever more CO2 and methane into our atmosphere. I urge the shareholders of these companies to demand that they look to the future with renewable, sustainable energy. If they don't, they will be asking for disaster, ecologically, economically, and ethically, and for all of us. We are all shareholders of this bountiful natural wealth that this beautiful planet has to offer. We must protect our environment above all else. Thank you.
The land that would be affected. So while we're unveiling this, we're going to sing People Gonna Rise Like the Waters a couple times, and then Bill Limpert is going to speak.
People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut this pipeline down. I hear the voice of a great-granddaughter saying, find injustice now. People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut this pipeline down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying, climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut this pipeline down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water, gonna shut this pipeline down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water, shut this pipeline down. I hear the voice of a great-granddaughter saying climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water and shut this pipeline down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying climate justice now.
Yay! We're Bill and Lynn Limpert, Bath County.
What's an email?
My voice is a little shot from changing so much already. All right. But Dominion shareholders are holding their annual meeting today behind me. Shareholders will shortly be
treated to a reassuring assessment of company profits, growth, and outlook. Dominion has been successful in providing their shareholders with profits as the company continues to expand. But shareholders may do well to look beyond the current and projected profits. They may want to look beyond the ledger book and take a Dominion stock. They may want to look at how Dominion's actions could affect them, their children, and those who follow them. Dominion is poised to begin construction of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. This massive project promises windfall profits for the company's shareholders and investors. Nevertheless, many others would suffer significant losses from its impacts. Property owners directly impacted by the proposed pipeline are having their property taken from them in a perverted use of eminent domain for private gain and not for public good.
Pervert!
Others have been misled into signing deceptive easement agreements. Properties on and near the proposed pipeline have already lost substantial value. Those directly impacted are given compensation that is far less than their real property value. And there's no compensation whatsoever for those who are not directly impacted, but are still losing value. Some properties near the proposed pipeline in Highland County have recently been reassessed at only 33% of their former value. Hard to believe, but true. Other counties are experiencing the same. In many cases, a person's home and property is the biggest investment of their lives, and losing that investment is the biggest loss of their lives. Shareholders will profit from this loss. All but one of the 27 counties along the entire 600-mile length of the ACP are below the median income level for that state. A much higher percentage of persons with income levels below the poverty level live near the proposed path of this pipeline, in all three states as well. Those that have the least will lose the most.
That's right.
Shareholders will take money out of their pockets as well. Dominion ratepayers will suffer as well with higher rates, and since their energy is effectively monopolized by Dominion, they have nowhere to turn for a better deal. Experts agree that Dominion ratepayers will pay $1 to $2 billion more on their electricity bills to help pay for the pipeline. Shareholders' profits will come from ratepayers' increased monthly bills. Perhaps the biggest cost to all of us now and well into the future is the cost of climate change from this project. The ACP will discharge as many greenhouse gases in their atmosphere as burning coal per amount of energy produced. This is due to excessive methane discharges that are inherent in natural gas systems. It would also lock in those discharges for decades to come. While Dominion is saying the ACP is a bridge to our energy future, it's really a dead end with exceptionally bad consequences as the full impacts of climate change grow and threaten all aspects of our lives. The former head of the World Bank, he's not an environmentalist, he's an economist, has stated that climate change will drop world gross domestic product 25% by the year 2050, unless we address it now. Shareholders' profits will be wiped out by the economic catastrophe of climate change. Other unseen costs of the ACP that are not reflected in the ledger book include loss of drinking water, public safety risks, loss of scenic beauty, polluted streams and rivers, increased flooding, deforestation, loss of tourism in rural areas, and loss of local revenue due to reduced property values. Shareholder profits will be gained from these losses as well. Now, I don't begrudge Dominion shareholders. I don't blame them for wanting their investments to grow. We all want to be financially secure for ourselves and our families. But Dominion shareholders should be aware of the true cost of the ACP. So I call on Dominion shareholders to think about these true costs and how this project would take from others to give to them. I call on the shareholders in good conscience to tell Dominion to do the right thing, stop this unjust, unneeded, and immoral project now. Yeah. Especially if that money is taken from someone else, you won't receive any grace, you won't reach a higher spiritual plane. Yes. You will be lost in a downward spiral from which you and the rest of us may never recover. Thank you very much.
Pipelines? No fracking way! Do we want these 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 pipelines? No fracking way!
Don't sell yourself for profit.
Dominion, come off it! Don't sell yourself for profit! Dominion, come off it! Don't sell yourself for profit! Dominion, come off it! Don't sell yourself for profit! Dominion, come off it! Don't sell yourself for profit!
Good morning, brothers and sisters. My name is John Sokolow. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Can Dominion hear us? Yeah. I'm an attorney, I'm an activist, I'm a writer, and I'm so proud to be here, standing here with some true heroes in Virginia. Red Terry, his daughter Minor Terry, and my friend Pastor Paul, who've been waging this struggle for so many years. I've been asked to rip off the scab and talk about the elephant in the room, which is politics in Virginia, which is why we are here today. Yes. Red and Minor Terry just completed an incredible 34 days in trees on their own land, protesting the Mountain Valley Pipeline. And they have succeeded. They have succeeded in focusing state, national, and international attention. The media is now focused and the public is now focused on the wrong-headed, corporate-backed, profit-driven, climate-frying rush to invest $10 billion, that's billion with a B, $10 billion in new fracked methane pipelines in Virginia and surrounding states. Red and Minor and thousands of others are continuing that fight, and we will continue that fight until the Mountain Valley Pipeline and the Atlantic Coast Pipeline are stopped. Because as an attorney, and you don't have to be an attorney to know this, I can tell you that despite the lies that are being told by the pipeline companies and the politicians who have been bought or who have lost their spine, these pipelines can be stopped under the Clean Water Act by Virginia. They must be stopped under the Clean Water Act by Virginia, and they will be stopped. But in a larger sense, the fight to stop these pipelines is one part of the overall fight to rescue Virginia from the corrupt pay-to-pay process known as the Virginia Way. The Virginia Way means Dominion Energy can donate $15 million to politicians of both parties and then write legislation that is introduced in the legislature by the governor. The Virginia Way means Dominion Energy can donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to line the pocket of our current governor and then have him repeat the falsehood, the outright lie that the pipelines are a federal issue.
Shame!
Shame! The Virginia Way means that Dominion Energy can pay Virginia $58 million and the Mountain Valley Pipeline Company, EQT, can pay $27 million for what they call mitigation agreements.
Shame! Shame!
These mitigation agreements are actually liability waiver agreements that cap their damages for any damage done to Virginia's water and forest if these pipelines are built.
Shame!
And what else does the Virginia Way mean? The Virginia Way means that when those secret agreements are exposed, because they were signed in December, but they were not made public until February, by yours truly. The governor's spokesman can go to the press and can deny that the agreements say what they say and go largely unchallenged. Why? Unchallenged by legislators who also drank from the fossil fuel trough. That's the Virginia Way. Beautiful. The movement elected more, but the pipeline movement and the environmental movement fought back and elected more than a dozen new legislators who said no to Dominion in 2017. We brought in a diverse group of new legislators. We're fighting to bring an even more diverse group in 2018. And this needs to be said. This movement is led largely by women. Red Terry, Minor Terry, a heroic 22-year-old woman who goes by the name of Nutty, whose federal officials, aided by the Virginia State Police, are trying to starve because she's fighting a pipeline.
She was down. They don't even know who she is.
That's
They're not
right.
paying any attention.
That's absolutely right.
And tell them she's still up there and needs food.
So I'm going to tell you a secret. I've been surrounded all my life by strong women. This is the best kept secret on the planet. Don't tell anybody. The secret is this. Women by far are smarter than men.
We'll take that.
So Mark Herring, if you're listening, listen to your wife. Justin Fairfax, if you're listening, listen to your wife. Ralph Northam, listen to Pam.
3 pounds!
So because of the great leadership by these women, the politics is starting to change. In just the past few days, the Democratic committees of Loudoun County, Arlington County, many other counties around the state, and my own county, the largest in the state, Fairfax County, have come out and demanded that these pipelines be stopped. These committees have been joined by politicians, many in the state legislature, more than 20 who've written a letter to Ralph Northam, 14 who attended a press conference a couple of weeks ago, and we have another press conference in Northern Virginia today. And they've been joined by such leaders as Congressman Don Beyer and our own Senator Tim Kaine. And it's no accident, I must say, that women are leading this movement, because women understand better than anyone that life is precious and that water is life. And women understand that like a tree standing by the water, we shall not be moved. So like the
Shareholders, we shall not be moved!
So I'm just a humble man joining along in this fight, but I say to you this, like the women who are leading this movement and other movements for social justice in this country, I have a message for Dominion Energy. Your time is up! Your time is up because we've had enough of your corrupt political contributions. Your time is up because we've had enough of politicians who sell themselves to the highest bidder. Your time is up because we are fed up. We are riled up, and we're not going to take it anymore.
We're not going to take it anymore!
Dominion Energy, you and your bought and paid for apologists will get on the right side of history, or history will wash you away like a mighty stream. Dominion Energy, we're here to tell you today, your time is up. Thank you very much. actually hear us. We got a great program for you. We got a lot of great speakers, so we're just going to run through it now. Thank you all for coming. We're sending a powerful message to Dominion Energy and to the politicians that back them that enough is enough. These pipelines must be stopped. We need to move to clean energy in Virginia. I'd like to introduce somebody who's going to read a statement from Jennifer Carroll Foy. She's a heroic new delegate, one of the new delegates we mentioned earlier, who got elected in 2017 on a pledge of not taking a penny from Dominion Energy. And she can't be here today. She's an attorney. She's actually in the middle of a trial up in Northern Virginia, but she sent a statement of support. And we have Harrison from the Chesapeake Climate Action Network, who's going to read Representative Foy's, Delegate Foy's statement. So where's Harrison? There you go. Doing today? We're ready to stop the pipeline? All right, well, my name's Harrison Wallace. I'm the Virginia Director for the Chesapeake Climate Action Network, and I'm really honored to be able to read a statement from a inspiring and powerful delegate, Jennifer Carroll Foy. So here's what she had to say to you all today. We are here to stand up to the big polluters who have outsized influence in our political process. We are here to stand and say that we will not tolerate coal ash or pipeline poisoning of our water. We are not here to say that we will not tolerate a General Assembly that puts profits over people, and we certainly will not tolerate the authorities telling Red, a woman whose land has been her family for over 400 years, that she is not allowed to protest on her own property. So many of you have followed my story over the last year as a new mother to identical twin sons, Alex and Xander, and I can tell you how personal it is to protect the environment. Preserving our environment and combating climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time. Because when I look at Alex and Xander's faces, I need to be able to tell them that I did everything I could to leave them in the best world that we can. As mothers, we will do anything and everything to ensure that our children are safe. I understand this sense of urgency. Clean water could not be more personal to me. I live in Woodbridge, less than 5 miles from the Possum Point coal ash site, where 4 million gallons of toxic coal ash sit. There are so many families like mine who live in this area. No mother or father should ever need to think twice before turning on the faucet to give their kids a glass of water. And let me tell you, as long as I am a delegate, as long as we all keep fighting, Possum Point will not become the new Detroit. More than ever, we must fight to protect our water, air, land at the state level. We have seen more enthusiasm about the environment over the last year than ever before. Last session, we stood up to powerful polluters. Just 2 weeks ago, a bipartisan group of delegates and senators stood with Red and spoke out against these pipelines. So today, it's more important than ever to continue this fight and not get disheartened. The momentum is on our side. We look into our kids' faces years from now. We need to be able to tell them that we did everything we could to protect this earth. Thank you guys so much. Statement of support coming from a very special person, a friend of mine actually, Delegate Elizabeth Guzman, who represents the 31st District up in Northern Virginia. Delegate Guzman is another one of those women who was elected in 2017, again on a pledge of not taking 1 penny from Dominion Energy. And I just want to say this about Delegate Guzman. She's my sister in the labor movement. I spent 35 years in the labor movement, most recently 21 years with the United Mine Workers of America. Elizabeth is a proud government worker, a proud union representative, ran with a lot of labor support. She understands, and I understand, the complexity of that issue and the phony promise of jobs for these pipelines. And I must tell you, when she ran for office last year, she wasn't quite there. She wasn't quite there on the issue of pipelines, but she's come out strong now, and she's going to have a strong statement to give to all of you. So to read that, she's unable to make it. She's working today, but she sends her support. She sends her love. And Nina Mizell, who's an activist here in Richmond, is going to read Delegate Guzman's statement. Nina?
To my brothers and sisters in the continued struggle for our environment, I want you to know that you are not alone. The majority of legislators who were elected in November of 2017 showcase a new vision for our democracy here in Virginia. A democracy that will voice the concerns of the 99% and not the voice of the 1% that includes fossil fuel corporations. Many of my fellow freshmen, including myself, will not bow down to fossil fuel corporations who seek to risk the quality of the water we drink and the land we live on. As a mother, I have a duty to protect the earth so my children and grandchildren have the ability to enjoy nature as I do now. Unfortunately, that is at risk today. I once again urge our governor to require the highest environmental standards and direct the DEQ to do a comprehensive stream-by-stream analysis of the MVP and ACP pipelines. I share the concerns of landowners, environmental scientists, and many others who say these huge 42-inch diameter pressurized gas pipelines cannot be built safely in the mountains of Southwest Virginia without forever destroying the beauty and natural resources, especially water, of that region. At a minimum, before my further work is allowed on these projects, we must make sure every stream and every piece of land is fully protected. I will not risk our combined futures for the transportation of fossil fuels. Dear Governor, please listen to our constituents who see this as a threat to our Commonwealth, and please remember that water is life, and we should not be begging for clean water. I want to thank Red Terry and her daughter Minor and all of those who stand fast along the lines of the MVP. You were able to bring the issue of social and environmental justice to the forefront of national news, and on behalf of my children, I am extremely thankful for that. 20 years from now, I don't want my children to tell me that we had the means to take action and we didn't do anything. This is just the beginning, and I want you to know that I will stand shoulder to shoulder with you as this fight continues. Sincerely, Delegate Elizabeth Guzman, 31st District, Freshman Class President.
Water is life! 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 Water is life!
Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Delegate Guzman. I forgot to mention, I should add, that Delegate Guzman is not only the president of the freshman class selected by her peers, but when 45 gave his State of the Union address, Delegate Guzman was selected to give the response to the State of the Union address in Spanish. So she's a rising young leader. She's with us. She stands with Red. She stands with Minor. She stands with Nutty. She stands with stream-by-stream analysis, and she stands against the pipeline. So let's have a big round of applause for Delegate Guzman. So I told you women are leading this struggle, and you can see by all the speakers we've had, but we do have one man with us here right now. So I'd like to introduce him, a very special guest. The Sierra Club has been helping to lead this fight for many, many years, and we are so appreciative that they are here today. So I'd like to introduce to you Bob Shippey.
Thank you. I've never been so happy to be the token white male in the group. So I help lead the Sierra Club's legislative and political work here in Virginia, and it's a great day. We've got wonderful legislative leaders we've already heard from, and one of our titans of support, Sam Rasool, a little bit later in the program. We'll hear from affected citizens about how these pipelines are a clear and present danger to our water, our land, and our air. We can talk about the environmental justice issues that are just completely over many years affecting populations of color in a disproportionate way. Any one of these reasons make you and I oppose these pipelines. But I've been asked to focus on economic reasons, which is what the folks over there care about. What do they care about? Money. Stock price, returns on investment. And hey, I spent a 30-year career in financial services. I get capitalism. I'm down with it. It's a wonderful system of an economy like the United States, but it is flawed. And one of the biggest flaws. I just lost part of the crowd. Sorry. It's flawed, and one of the biggest flaws is that it's notoriously focused on short-term gains and not on the long-term future of our country. And I feel like this is something that shareholders really need to be thinking about. Hopefully there's some questions being asked across the street about this. I'm not going to begrudge them their right to have a return on their investment. But I will tell Dominion shareholders and any other decision makers that are listening that even when you view these projects on a purely financial basis, any future investment in fossil fuels is ill-advised.
Right.
What do you need to sell product, first off? Demand, right? Well, the demand for energy is flat, and it's actually starting to decline, and expected to do that in the future years. So without any real customers, Dominion had to create a corporate structure where they would sell this gas to themselves and pretend that there was demand for it. And sadly, the State Corporation Commission has gone along with this fantasy so far. And unfortunately, in the plan that Dominion just released, they're using these kind of manipulated forecasts to justify 8 new fossil fuel plants in addition to the pipelines over the next 15 years. And by 2033, they're forecasting only 9% renewable energy in Virginia. This is exactly the wrong direction to be going in. We know that we need to ramp up to at least 30% renewables by 2030. And many cities and countries are committing to this kind of target on their way to a fossil fuel-free world by 2050. So Virginia needs to get there as well, and we know this. And unfortunately, what that means is that these infrastructure projects that are being built now are going to have to be decommissioned long before their useful lives are over. That will saddle ratepayers with a massive bill. And as many of you know, Virginia's electric bills are already 10th in the country, 10th highest, and Dominion wants us to keep paying those rates versus the plummeting costs of wind and solar power across the country, where we are now seeing 5 cents per kilowatt hour on some of these new generations versus the 10 to 12 cents that we're paying here in Virginia. So in terms of ratepayers, the Dominion strategy is terrible. On the broader economy, it's well documented that clean energy jobs far outstrip any of the fossil fuel job creation. We already have more solar jobs in Virginia than coal or gas. And many large companies, yes, many large companies like Amazon and Facebook won't even locate in a state where they don't feature renewable energy. But Dominion would rather spend $6.5 billion on the Atlantic Coast Pipeline because they make a guaranteed return on that construction. 14%. And don't get me started on the folly of continuing to extend the life of nuclear plants well beyond their recommended decommission dates. This is terrible both financially and for public safety reasons. So in short, Dominion's energy policy is horrible for our economy as well. Lastly, back to our friends in the shareholder meeting over there. As I said a moment ago, capitalism and stock markets are notoriously short-sighted, but it could be that the market is starting to see the risks of Dominion's strategy. Dominion stock is down 25% just in the past 5 months. And this is in a market where most of the rest of the stocks are doing pretty well. And so 25% hit in 5 months is a shot to take, and I hope there's some serious questions being asked across the street, because it looks like Dominion's strategy is also bad for shareholders. So I'm glad that all of you are here for this event. It's incredibly important that we keep spreading the word far and wide that we are watching, we're going to call out the bad actors like Dominion, and that fossil fuels are bad business, and it's time for Dominion to drop the act.
Defensible, what Dominion Energy is doing. Pastor Paul's been telling us about this for many years. Dominion Energy's business model is in fact environmental racism. That's their business model, and the best example of that is what they're proposing to do with a compressor station in Union Hill in Buckingham County. So we're going to hear a little bit more about this. I'd like to introduce Mark Hoggard. He's with Virginia Interfaith Power and Light to talk to us a little bit about the moral and the religious imperative of stopping Dominion Energy in its tracks.
In his groundbreaking encyclical Laudato Si, Pope Francis begins, Laudato Si, mi signori, praise be to you, my Lord. In the words of this beautiful canticle, St. Francis of Assisi reminds us that our common home is like a sister with whom we share our life, and a beautiful mother who opens her arms to embrace us. In the introduction to the letter, Pope Francis notes that he writes the letter as a way to enter into dialogue with not only Roman Catholics, but with all people about our common home. Pope Francis has called the destruction of nature a modern sin, and that unbridled consumerism is destroying our planet, and we are stewards, not masters of the earth. As a Catholic Christian, a resident of our common home, and more specifically a lifelong Virginian, I have to wonder if Pope Francis had Dominion Energy in mind when he penned these words about unbridled consumerism. Dominion Energy continues their strategy of misleading the public, claiming they are moving towards clean, renewable energy, while according to a Daily Press article last week, it plans to build at least 8 new natural gas-fired plants during the next 5 years. Let's call this natural gas what it is. Natural gas is in fact fracked gas, literally squeezed out of rock by injecting high-pressure poison chemicals into the earth. Fracked gas is not clean energy.
Unnatural gas!
Like coal, fracked gas is a finite fossil fuel, and Dominion Energy is lying when it consistently links in fracked gas with solar and wind energy. We call that greenwashing. Dominion has invested billions into a boondoggle of new pipelines across the Commonwealth to carry this fracked gas to new power plants. We are alone among all neighboring states in having no operating wind farms. Distributed generation like rooftop solar also remains a weak spot. One source ranks Virginia as number 37 among states in percent of renewable energy production, even as customer interest continues to grow. In the meantime, the sun shines and the wind blows. With a few meager solar panels and hopes of a couple of turbines to capture those infinite resources. Where is our stewardship of the earth? I would propose that our stewardship might be lost in our profit margin. Pope Francis notes that economic powers continue to justify the current global system, where priority tends to be given to speculation and the pursuit of financial gain, which fail to take into account the context, let alone the effects on human dignity and the natural environment. Are you listening, Dominion shareholders? I stand before you as a Christian, realizing that some of us are Muslim, some Buddhist, some Jewish or other faith, and some are non-believers. But all of us, in one way or another, are people of faith. And as Pope Francis reminds us, faith allows us to interpret the meaning and the mysterious beauty of what is unfolding. We are free to apply our intelligence towards things evolving positively or towards adding new ills, new causes of suffering, and real setbacks. This is what makes for the excitement and drama of human history, in which freedom, growth, salvation, and love can blossom, or leads toward decadence and mutual destruction. As people of faith, let our voices be heard. Let us tell Dominion investors that the earth cries out for justice, and all of our actions matter. Let us use our valuable resources of time, talent, and treasure to fulfill our duty of caring for nature, and at the same time protect humanity from self-destruction. Thank you.
We will win. Do you think we're going to win? Are we going to stop these pipelines? Are we going to win? You know, I'm here. I have the pleasure honor being able to introduce a really awesome person, Miss Red and her daughter Minor. But let's clear up a few facts. Can Virginia stop these pipelines? Oh, yeah! What are they saying? They're saying some crazy things like, oh, Virginia can't, we don't have the authority. We've heard those lines before.
I call BS.
Did one state just recently stop their pipeline? Yeah! Who was that? New York! I don't say this often, but I love New York. We love New York. They proved that, in fact, we could exercise our rights under Section 401 of the Clean Water Act to do our what? To protect our water.
Yeah.
And you know what? The pipeline companies said, we don't like that ruling. We're going to appeal to the Supreme Court. And you know what the Supreme Court said?
You're wrong.
They said, no way.
Screw you, pipeline company.
So what does that mean? That means there's clear precedent here. Virginia can stop these pipelines. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
You know, it's difficult sometimes for politicians like me to make our political calculations, as we often do. But, you know, I got elected, I was one of those kind of, you know, you have to imagine this child of immigrants, and the Bible Belt of Virginia was a little bit different path for me. So I really had to use a couple of different principles, and one principle that I used is just make sure you're always on the right side of history. And we know that this struggle is difficult. We know it's uphill, but we know standing here together that we are on the right side of history.
Yep.
We need to keep that in mind, and we need to make that appeal to all of our brothers and sisters around Virginia and let them know there's a big struggle here. And one reason why I'm personally involved is because it's not just a few random ornery country folks up on some mountain. So where'd she go? Oh, there she is. What she's protecting, the South Fork of the Roanoke River and the tributaries that attach to the Roanoke River are crossed by this pipeline, the Mountain Valley Pipeline, over 100 times. That's my personal drinking water in the Roanoke Valley, as well as hundreds of thousands of people who are going to be impacted. And we know that there are over 1,100 water bodies that are going to be impacted by both of these pipelines. So we have a duty. You know what we have a duty to do? Protect our water, and to hashtag stand with red. Let's do it. Stand with red. Stand with red. Stand with red.
I'm Minor. I was at Tree Sit number 2, or for everybody that was there, Camp Kick-Ass. And I am here to speak from the heart, and my heart is broken. We came down from our trees on Saturday, and on Sunday, they cut everything down that we've been protecting. Everything from my mother's sit, in between those forested wetlands, to my sit. And now I am here to talk to you and tell you we will not put these pipelines in the ground. They will not go in. And now, the face of the revolution, I see all these signs out here and these shirts with Stand With Red, and here she is.
Who would have thought that some old lady up in a tree would do this? All I did was lay around like a diva. I did complain about not having ice for my tea. Then it was too late to complain about not having the tea. But Sam was right about the women being strong, but I want to draw your attention for just 1 second to my son, who also had a tree set. And he was a brave man ready to go into the tree. They did come through and move the boundaries and made his tree not important. But my son stayed with my daughter out in that cold and rain and snow the whole time she was in the tree. I came down, well, actually when I was still up there, people started going, oh, look, Red, we made a shirt. And I was like, y'all guys are nuts. Yeah, and then I'm seeing posters, and I'm like, I'm looking down from his tree going, really? That's the best picture we've got? You can see my wrinkles.
Sorry.
This has been a completely overwhelming response to a crazy tree hugger in the tree, just trying to protect our oaks and our property and our water. But if that's what it took to get everybody going, I really do thank y'all. I really do. Let's just stop this. I mean, we've been poisoning our water. We've let them poison our water in so many states for so long. And I keep asking the same question. Why have they been allowed to poison the water for so long and nobody has stopped it? Why, and all the politicians know this, why are they still allowed to poison people's drinking water? And I'm waiting for someone, anyone, to give me an answer. So let's stop these before they destroy everybody's water.
I couldn't spend 34 minutes in a tree, okay? But they have given a gift to us. They have brought this pipeline struggle to a level that has not been achieved over 4 years. They've done more in 4 weeks than all of us have been able to do in 4 years. So since they've given to us, it's time for us to give back to them. So here's what we're going to do. Who in the crowd, I want a show of hands, has a phone in your pocket? I know you have one.
I have two.
And you have two. There you go. So here's what we're going to do. I want you all to take out your phones. I want you to take a picture of this demonstration, take a picture of yourself, take a picture of this pipeline, take a picture of Red, take a picture of you with Red, take a picture with Delegate Rasul, take any kind of picture you want. Take more than one picture, okay? And then when you're done taking that picture, I want you to do 2 things for Red and for Minor. Number 1, post it on Facebook and share it with all your friends. Can you do that? Yeah. Okay. And number 2, if you have a Twitter account, who has a Twitter account? Okay. I want you all to post those pictures on your Twitter feed. I want you to use the hashtag #StandWithRed. Okay. And then when you're done with that, and I'm going to add a third ask, because there's always another ask when people say yes. The third ask is, I want you to retweet everything you can find under hashtag #StandWithRed. We need to amplify this message. We've only just begun. They're just working on the Mountain Valley Pipeline. Dominion has no idea what they are up against. That's right. So can you all do that for me? Yeah. Okay. Thank you all very much. We really appreciate it. The struggle continues. The Terry's tour continues. We're going to be up in Northern Virginia today. They're going to be in Waynesboro tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the week after that, and the month after that, until these pipelines are stopped. Thank you all.
I believe! I believe! I believe that! I believe that! I believe that we! I believe that we! I believe that we will win! 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 I believe that we will win!
Northam. Okay, so back in February of 2017, when he was running for governor, he went to a Democratic Party meeting in Charlottesville, and he was asked, Dr. Northam, why aren't you listening to these landowners who are having their land taken from them by the Atlantic Coast and Mountain Valley pipelines? Why won't you meet with them? Why won't you talk to them? And he says, you know what? I'm an environmentalist. My wife Pam is an environmentalist. We just love the environment. So here's what we're going to do, and I know he said it because it's on tape. And what Dr. Northam said was, we're going to come down, me and Pam, and we're going to have focus groups, is what he called them, so we can hear the concerns of the landowners, so we can understand what all this nonsense is about. He didn't use the word nonsense, but that was probably what was in his head. So he promised those focus groups. Can I get an estimate from anybody, the approximate number of focus groups that Dr. Northam has held since he made that campaign promise? You're all mathematicians. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, and this is the fourth act. Dr. Northam, if you're listening, and if you're not listening, we're going to make you listen. You need to meet with Red Terry. You need to meet with Minor Terry. I can tell you this, they'll give you one hell of a focus group. So when you all get on Facebook, when you all get on Twitter, I want you to do hashtag #StandWithRed, and I want you to tweet to Governor Northam, that's hashtag GovernorVA or hashtag Ralph Northam, and say, how about those focus groups? We got a focus group for you. We want you to meet with Red Terry and Minor Terry right away. Keep your promise, Ralph. Thank you very much.